In recent months, Apple has been quietly building up a team of aerospace and communication experts to explore a satellite project that may one day allow the tech giant to transmit data from the sky directly to its devices without the need of third-party carriers. That sounds close to what Elon Musk's Starlink company, a subsidiary of SpaceX, are working on. When you think of billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, the chances are good that you think of his electric car company Tesla, his space exploration venture SpaceX, or his stint hosting Saturday Night Live, to say nothing of his history of stirring up controversy on social media or smoking weed with Joe Rogan. Maybe you just know him as one of the richest people on Earth. Something you might be less familiar with is a venture called Starlink, which aims to sell internet connections to almost everyone on the planet through a growing network of private satellites orbiting overhead. And with Apple jumping headfirst into the same field, industry experts believe a possible partnership is up for offing and would shake the entire world. Are you ready? Let us know in the comment section down below. Apple is working on satellite capabilities for the iPhone that will allow users to send texts in emergency situations. The feature would also allow iPhone users to report crashes and other emergencies in areas where there is no cellular coverage. There are at least 2 emergency features that will rely on satellite networks, and while satellite technology has been in the works for years, these capabilities are not likely to launch in the immediate years to come. The first feature, Emergency Message via Satellite, is designed to let users text emergency services and contacts using a satellite network when there is no signal available. And it will be integrated into the Messages app as a third communications protocol alongside SMS and iMessage. It will feature gray message bubbles rather than green or blue, and message length will be restricted. The texting via satellite tool, codenamed Stewie inside Apple, will have a couple of new features. The text will automatically push through to an emergency contact's phone, even if the Do Not Disturb setting is on. One planned design will let users send the message by typing emergency SOS, where they would usually input a contact's name. In addition to delivering text, the service may eventually be able to handle some phone calls too. The second feature will let users report major emergencies like plane crashes and fires using satellite networks. It will be similar to a 911 call in the US and can provide information like a user's location and medical ID, in addition to alerting emergency contacts. A report from Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo said that the iPhone 13 would include low Earth orbit satellite communication connectivity to allow users to make calls and send messages without 4G and 5G coverage. But further analysis has indicated that this suggestion is incorrect and unlikely. According to Bloomberg, when Apple does implement satellite connectivity, it will be limited to crisis scenarios and will not be an alternative to cellular networks that allows for widespread texting and calling. This Apple project would be twice as easy if they collaborate with Elon Musk-led Starlink. In January 2021, after 3 years' worth of successful launches, Starlink's test project surpassed 1,000 satellites delivered into orbit. And by June, SpaceX said the number was roughly 1,800. In February, Musk's company disclosed that Starlink was serving more than 10,000 customers. Now, after expanding pre-orders to even more potential customers and exploring the possibility of providing in-flight Wi-Fi for passenger aircraft, Musk says that Starlink has shipped more than 100,000 satellite internet terminals to customers in 14 countries. SpaceX says that it expects Starlink to reach global serviceability sometime in fall 2022, though regional availability will depend on regulatory approval. During a talk at Mobile World Congress in June 2021, Musk told an audience that Starlink would be available worldwide except at the North and South Poles starting in August. In September, Musk tweeted that Starlink would exit its initial beta phase in October, which indicates that the service is continuing to ramp up and expand, though the budding broadband provider faces a backlog of prospective customers waiting to receive equipment and start service. As for Apple, the company said that they would not launch their satellite capabilities in every country, and their availability will be dependent on local regulations and satellite locations. One built-in feature will ask users to go outdoors and walk in a specified direction to help the iPhone connect to a satellite. Connections may not be instantaneous, and it could take up to a minute for an iPhone to successfully communicate with a satellite. Connecting to satellites will require a special modem chip, and Apple will continue to use Qualcomm technology for the next few years. While there's obviously a lot of unknowns remaining in what Apple is working on or what it will eventually amount to, if anything, It's very interesting to consider the possibility that it could offer a level of always-on connectivity that's bundled with iPhones and available even when your primary network is not, that offers persistent access to features like iMessage, voice calls, and navigation, leaving streaming and other data-intensive applications to your standard carrier rate plan. As of now, Starlink is Apple's best bet to launch the project on time successfully. However, Starlink isn't without its controversies. Members of the scientific community have raised concerns about the impact of Starlink's low Earth orbit satellites on night sky visibility. Meanwhile, satellite internet competitors including Viasat, HughesNet, and Amazon's Project Kuiper have taken notice of Starlink's momentum too, prompting plenty of regulatory jousting and attempts to slow Musk down. Like existing satellite internet providers HughesNet or Viasat, Starlink wants to sell internet access, particularly to people in rural areas and other parts of the world who don't already have access to high-speed broadband. Starlink is ideally suited for areas of the globe where connectivity has typically been a challenge, the Starlink website reads. Unbounded by traditional ground infrastructure, Starlink can deliver high-speed broadband internet to locations where access has been unreliable or completely unavailable. To make the connection, all you need to do is set up a small satellite dish at your home to receive the signal and pass the bandwidth onto your router. The company offers a number of mounting options for rooftops, yards, and the exterior of your home. There's even a Starlink app for Android and iOS that uses augmented reality to help customers pick the best location and position for their receivers. Starlink's service is only available in selected regions in the US, Canada, and abroad at this point. But the service now boasts more than 100,000 satellite terminals shipped to customers, and the coverage map will continue to grow as more satellites make their way into the constellation. Eventually, Starlink hopes to blanket the entire planet in a usable high-speed Wi-Fi signal. A possible partnership would enable Apple to implement a lot. With the technology in hand, the iPhone maker could do several useful things. It could improve its Maps service and location tracking, or boost mobile reception and internet coverage for its devices, making the firm more independent of carriers. Bloomberg says Apple currently has around a dozen engineers working on the project, but is steadily staffing up. The team is reportedly led by a pair of aerospace engineers, Michael Treller and John Fernwick, who previously worked for Skybox Imaging. The satellite industry has a checkered past, though, and is littered with high-profile failures like Iridium, Globalstar, and Teledisk. These were companies that brought in plenty of funding and launched fleets of satellites in the 1990s, but ultimately failed to sustain themselves due to financial and technological challenges. Apple working together with Starlink can emerge victors, swerving the challenges previously experienced by past tech companies who dipped both feet in the hot chamber. The project is still in the early stages, but CEO Tim Cook has indicated that it's a priority within the company. Regardless of what exactly Apple is up to in the satellite arena, it's not operating in a bubble. For its part, Amazon is planning to deploy 3,236 of its own satellites to provide internet access to parts of the world that remain untapped. Facebook also wants a piece of the pie, but all companies are operating in the shadow of SpaceX, which has a vision to eventually send 42,000 of its Starlink satellites into space. Whether and how Apple ultimately intends to capitalize on those advances remains to be seen. Still, industry experts temper partnership with SpaceX and Starlink as the best option going forward. Do you genuinely believe these two industry giants can come together to work on this project? Let us know in the comments section down below.